Times are tough right now, and people are unsure about our future. The economy is hurting, even though there are powers that would make us believe differently. Banks are failing, and the gold buyers are buying. Question: with all the chemicals being put into our air, how do you use gold when you are very sick or dead? Investing in precious metals is smart. Investing in your health could be smarter. Life Change Tea changes your life just by drinking our tea. Detox from deadly chemicals, flush poisons that cause harm to your organs, and lose unwanted pounds that bog you down. Call us 928-308-0408. Again, 928-308-0408. Or you can order online at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea. We're changing lives.
In the New World Order's war against humanity, Barack Obama is the tip of the spear.
We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well-funded.
The Obama deception completely destroys the myth that Obama is working for the best interest of the American people.
Well, Obama's already fudging. He's fudged since day one in this election.
If you have a demagogue with a fanatical mass movement of personality cultists who is imposing the program of a group of extreme bankers and finance oligarchs, that's fascism.
It's not about left or right. It's about a one-world government. This film documents who Obama works for, the lies he has told, and his real agenda. Get your copy of The Obama Deception today at Infowars.com or download it in super high quality at PrisonPlanet.tv. The Obama Deception. The people strike back.
You don't have to be in the military to enjoy military surplus savings. Right now at MainMilitary.com, you'll find savings on the top must-have military supplies. M10 gas masks for $12 or 3 for $30. Gas mask hoods $4 or 3 for $10. Mask filters $6 or 3 for $15. Save big on British chemical suits, only $12. Israeli gas masks $20. Trigger finger gloves $5 a pair or $36 a dozen. Snowshoe binding for $8 or $48 a dozen, and so much more. Even hard-to-find surplus items, all at surplus prices. Preparing the whole family has never been so affordable at MainMilitary.com. MainMilitary.com, one of the last surviving true surplus stores in the country. Shop now at MainMilitary.com or call 877-608-0179. That's 877-608-0179 today.
All right, we're going to just straight rush through these callers. I'm spending a lot of time with each one, but some good points. Jim in Arkansas, you're on the line.
Hi, Jason.
Hello.
Late last week, I guess it was Alex made a point of sirens going off in major cities for whatever reason. I don't know if you guys know it, here in Little Rock, they've been doing it as a test, at least that's the premise, at noon Wednesday. And I'm talking about since the mid-'60s.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that has any bearing.
Do they say why they do it? They do it at noon every day, or just on Wednesdays, or
no, noon every Wednesday.
And they don't say why, because I come from a small town, and I'd hear the fire alarm go off, and all of a sudden the fire trucks would be going, and that sort of thing. I've never had a daily drill or a weekly drill. Or weekly, I've never even heard anything like that, and they don't say what it's for, and you don't see any kind of like
a test of the system is the premise.
It's just a test of the emergency system in case something goes wrong. That's it.
Tornado siren, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily evil. I mean, will they co-opt that? Well, in these drills, I mean, obviously they're going to use as much local government as you can. Now, sure, if they're going to herd people into facilities, most people's nuclear bunker back in the 80s was the local high school, so they may use the local high school as one of these places. I remember back in 03, 04, when I was working in this restaurant, one of the people's daughters was taken to the local sheriff's department on a bus for a FEMA drill where they were given a mock vaccination and then, herded into a security center afterwards. And I was just like, when this person's telling me this, and I'm like, you let your kids do this? And she's acting like it's a good thing. And she's like, well, this is something that they may have to deal with in their lifetime. Terrorism is real. And I'm just like puking in my mouth. But I don't know if I necessarily, think there's anything devious going on with your air raid science.
I thought maybe that was more informational for the listeners than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me switch topics here. Do you guys know of a website that has the voting records of the senators and representatives on different bills?
Ooh. I've
been trying to research that. Mm-hmm. I would love to see the information that would provide.
That is a good question. Idea. You know what you should do? You should try to go, instead of trying to look for a broad website like that, search by individual. If you're looking for a certain person, I'm sure that somebody has their voting record online somewhere. So try to use individual searches for certain congressmen or women or senators and whatnot, instead of trying to look for broad searches, and I bet you'll come across that information. I thank you for the call, Jim. Let's jump to Charlie in Kentucky. Charlie, you're on the line. Yes, sir.
Jason, how's it going, man?
Good, man.
Hey, I just want to call in with the other part of the chemtrail equation, beyond what Scott is telling you about these turbofan engines.
Okay.
And that is that, moisture in suspension in the air is humidity, and it will condense out of the air based on temperature and pressure. And that's what those turbofan motors provide, is the proper temperature and pressure in a given humidity to condense the water out of the air, and it reaches a dew point.
Mm-hmm.
That leads the trail.
So you're in agreement with Scott. You agree with him?
Well, I do to that point, but what he doesn't follow up with is the fact that conditions were appropriate before the jet traveled through that space for the air to be in suspension or for the moisture to be in suspension in the air. As soon as the jet leaves the space, conditions are then appropriate for the moisture to return to its suspended state in the air.
So in other words, what you're trying to say is it should have that trail where it follows the plane slowly and then dissipates as the plane moves, and it shouldn't have these long lines that stick out there.
And spread out and fan out and settle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you think that's the big difference?
That's the difference. When the trail doesn't dissipate and go back to the state it was before the jet traveled through that space and created the conditions for dew point, well, then there's something else going on. He didn't, the jet doesn't alter the entire upper atmosphere.
Well, I'm really in agreement with you, Charlie. I come at it from your perspective, but at the same time, the guy calls in, and I'm going to let him speak, and, he seems like a genuine truther. He just doesn't agree with us on this issue. Could we be wrong? I've been wrong before. I'm a human being. I'm not perfect, but I really don't believe, for instance, he also says that, the geoengineering may be going on, but it's not going on through this. And then he'll say that these planes aren't running patterns. They're just waiting to go onto a runway or a jetway to land. Yeah. And, you can clearly see in a lot of these cases that they are running patterns, and they're not, sitting by a jetway. And thank you for the call, Charlie. No, I've seen it all over, too. I'm with you. Let's go to Deborah in Michigan. You're on the line.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
You were talking last night about this census, or they've selectively picked so many people.
Well, what they're doing is they're mapping out GPS spots where they didn't have GPS before. For instance, on my TomTom, I go to my house, but my GPS ends about a mile away from my house. It shows my road, but it doesn't show anything on it. It doesn't know the address on there, so it's not in, quote-unquote, the TomTom GPS system. It knows the streets I'm on, but it doesn't have addresses for the streets. So what the Census Bureau is doing, apparently, is that they're going to door to door to, establishments and homes like mine, and they are setting GPS coordinates for the Census Bureau's own records. And I don't know if I'm going to guess they have their own satellite system. We already have TomTom out there as a private one. We have Garmin. And now we have Google Earth, which is literally mapping every corner of the United States as we speak. And we know that Google is in bed with the United States government. So, this just seems to be an extension of that program, that entire control grid program, to track and trace all of us.
Well, because I know I've Google Earth my home, and I'm basically looking at my house from the sidewalk in front of my house on Google Earth.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? They have now, it's not only just the zoom in where you can see somebody's entire personal property. You can now, in most cases, go down to street level and kind of have that pan around, and you can probably see your neighbor's cars out on the sides of the street. They update it ever so often. It's like every few weeks or so. But it's pretty scary how anybody right now. There's never been a time in history where it would be easier for someone to look up a random person, find out where they live, plan to kill them, and get away with it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's so true because they can lay out your entire home. They basically have blueprints of your property.
Right. I had a girlfriend over, and she lives like down the street around the corner. Mm-hmm. And I says, let's just take Google Earth, and we just pan down to her street. There's a picture of her house with her getting out of her car. And she freaked out. Totally freaked out.